see your boy the Grizz, you know what it is, what it do, what it is. Yes, indeed, I am Dakota Griswold, and welcome back to Yesterday Today. This, of course, is the show where I bring you some of the biggest gaming news you may have missed from yesterday today. And if you like these videos, go ahead and hit the like button. And if you're new here, hit that red subscribe button and turn on all notification bells while you're at it. And we got a lot of stuff to get into, so let's jump right into it. So Xbox has announced the Game Pass games that are also coming in February into March. And while we got Atomic Heart, that was the big game for February, the bigger game for me was Shadow Warrior 3, but I'll get into Atomic Heart eventually. But now here's what we got coming February 28th. We have Merge in Blade, which is a fantasy puzzler, and it's also Soul Hackers 2. Now the game that's on the I guess kind of the DNA of Persona 5, and it didn't receive as well, but it did receive decently, saying it's a pretty good game, but it doesn't have as much personality as Persona. That's also coming to you on February 28th. Console and PC F1 2022, and that's with EA Play. That's March 2nd, and the big game as of right now for Game Pass in March is Wo Long Fallen Dynasty. Now, I have no doubts that this game is going to be big. Honestly, I think, and I'm just take this with a grain of salt, but I think that this is going to be a big deal, especially on Game Pass, because it's going to get a lot of attention, because this is coming off the same people who have made Nioh 1 and Nioh 2 and Souls-like types of games, where these games are a little harder, but there's some things that the magic is actually very assisting, at least that I was told from an experienced Souls-like player. I just couldn't do too well with Nioh 1 and Nioh 2. But these games are really good. And Wo Long Fallen Dynasty, based on a Chinese mythology, yeah, I can't not try it. So I'm really interested in seeing this. And it's also a demo coming in the next few days. So if any of this is your vibe, let me know down in the comments below. And a shout out to my Pokemon fans. There is a Pokemon Presents event happening on February 27th. 6 a.m. Pacific time, but 9 a.m. Eastern. So it'll be going up the same time as this. And well, you're lucky I'm not a Pokemon fan, because I would be making some predictions here and there, and But if you are a Pokemon fan, here's what the tweet says. It says, the next Pokemon Presents is on the way, trainers. Tune into our official YouTube channel at 6 a.m. Pacific time on February 27th for about 20 minutes of exciting Pokemon news in celebration of Pokemon Day 2023. Now, do with that information what you will, but I'm pretty sure they're going to announce some DLC for the latest Pokemon games. And I don't know if we're going to see a Arceus sequel or anything, but I know Pokemon usually has some of those spin-off things. We haven't heard about Pokemon Sleep, right? I'm still really curious to see what's going on with that. But if any of this is your vibe and you're a Pokemon fan, let me know what you think is going to be presented at the comments below. So, just as predicted by Jeff Grubb, there will be a State of Play happening tomorrow. So I'm interested in seeing where this is going to be, but first they released it on the official blog, and this is what it says. State of Play returns with its first show of 2023. Get ready for new looks at some anticipated games from our third-party partners, as well as a first glimpse at 5 PlayStation VR 2 games set to arrive later this year. Then settle in for more than 15 minutes of all new gameplay details and updates on Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, the next game from Rocksteady Studios. It all begins this Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern, 9 p.m. GMT, 10 p.m. CET on Twitch or YouTube. Now, of course, I have a great interest. As you know, I play all systems, but I love my PS5 because that controller is just amazing, baby. That DualSense is just probably the best controller ever, and I haven't tested the Edge, but we'll see. But I'm really interested in seeing what else they can show us. We're getting 15 minutes of Suicide Squad. And I guess that we're basically due for all of this, because we've heard about so many different leaks around the internet, but we haven't heard anything from Rocksteady. Now, the last thing we saw, the game looked decent. Maybe it was just a kind of a Guardians of the Galaxy type deal, or it has a couple people that you can play with, because it's a squad based thing. But then we also got that leak that came out recently where it looked like they had armor sets like Destiny. Maybe it's a games as a service, but I'm pretty sure within this 15 minutes we're going to get an idea of what to expect from this game. And as far as anything else, are we going to see Spider-Man? Do we have a glimpse of Spider-Man? Maybe they give us, hey, look, here's a little bit of Spider-Man, but we're going to show you this in a different state of play. And Spider-Man gets its own state of play, but What else do we have? They said they're going to show us a slew of PSVR titles. I got to shout them out because they've just shown us it's a lot of stuff out for PSVR 2. Not everything has to be that you have to pay for an upgrade, but Thumper, for some reason, you got to give that. You got to pay $5, and I'm not really big on the whole next-gen upgrade thing. And PlayStation, they kind of seem to fall back on that. And I don't know. Call of Duty did too, because they charged one is $60, the other one is $70. You need the cross-gen bundle, anything. Anyway, I'm really excited to see what it is. Maybe we get a random game that we've never even seen, and it's probably still dropping this year. I'm really, really excited about this. I'm just speculating here. Let's not get our expectations out of hand, and once again, let's speculate, and if we don't see what we're speculating on, there's no reason for disappointment. How would y'all feel if we got more horror indie games, right? And we feel like most of these horror games that we get, the really great ones, are AAA. And we've seen in recent years that every great game doesn't have to be AAA. We got a lot of indie games that's fire in the last year or two. Kena and the Bridge of Spirits. We got Sifu, Stray. Those games are fire. Those are I guess you can call it. But how would you feel if the movie studio Blumhouse decided to get into horror games with their own division in video games? Sounds interesting because Blumhouse usually puts out some fire. They put out Megan, Get Out, The Purge, and stuff like Insidious, and well, I think it's pretty good. And they spoke to Bloomberg, but of course it's behind a paywall, and I got something from Engadget, and it says, horror movie powerhouse Blumhouse is getting into video games. The company behind its likes of Megan, Get Out, The Purge, and Insidious is opening a production and publishing division that will work on original horror games for PC, consoles, and mobile. And here's a direct quote. It says, we're in the scary story business. We do films, we do TV, and there is this massive growing segment in media and entertainment called gaming. And this is from the Blumhouse president, Abhijay Prakash. And he also said, the space is hundreds of billions of dollars. We're in a great position to try and access it. So I'm really interested. They got some industry veterans attached that have made some other games, which is really interesting. But I'm not really into horror games, but given the fact that I played Dead Space Remake recently and absolutely loved it, I thought it was one of my most favorite gaming experiences maybe in the last few years or so. I wouldn't dare say 5 or 10 years, but I'm not the biggest horror fan, and this was just something new to me. I mean, I tend to like games if they're more on the actiony side, and I hope that they make these types of games. I'm not a big fan of the Amnesias and the games where you gotta basically run away, but I'm excited in seeing where it's going. I'm excited for my horror fans. I know quite a few horror fans, and maybe if I can find the right horror game or the right horror fan and they can explain it to me why I should love it as much, well, maybe I can get into it. But if this is your vibe, let me know down in the comments below. So Microsoft was over in Brussels yesterday, and well, they're pretty busy, and the next two stories will be all of Microsoft. Let's talk about the fact that they are deciding that it's not a good idea to divest or carve up Call of Duty, and just it seems like they just trying to basically hand over everything to Sony. But so Christopher Dring from GameIndustry.biz gave us play-by-play, but other websites of course gave us some nice breakdowns, and this is from IGN, and it says the company's hosted a press conference in Brussels today following a close hearing at the European Commission. Microsoft Vice Chair and President Brad Smith addressed the media discussing the Call of Duty deal and claiming that selling off parts of Activision Blizzard to help push the merger through doesn't seem likely. And it says, in a summary of the press conference from GameIndustry.biz, Christopher Dring, Smith argued that the future is cross-platform and that this deal means Call of Duty needs to run well on all consoles, including Nintendo Switch. In addition to the deal with Nintendo, Microsoft also signed a deal with Nvidia to bring Call of Duty to GeForce Now, but Smith said Sony remains opposed to the deal. Now, Sony's opposed to the deal because it's Microsoft's direct competitor. Straight up. Sony is going to do their best not to have it because they know that if Microsoft has Activision Blizzard or even just Call of Duty, that's a really huge deal. A lot of Sony's money comes from Call of Duty, but that's crazy. A lot of Sony's money comes from Final Fantasy. The Final Fantasy that's not even on Xbox. But anyway, here's a direct quote from Smith. It says, do you want to kill a deal and cement Sony's position? Or do you want to open Call of Duty up to 150 million more people? Because if you put this thing on Game Pass, it'll open up a lot. People are just like, I'm not spending $70, or they'll wait for a sale every year like I do for Call of Duty. And they can put it on Game Pass, and it says the 150 million figure likely comes from the current Nintendo Switch install base, which sits at 122.55 million, and the number of GeForce Now members, which Microsoft's press release says is over 25 million. Microsoft thinks its 2 deals with Nvidia and Nintendo will be enough to convince regulators. Smith on the CMA. Do you want to kill a deal and cement Sony's position? And this is actually really trash, and it also goes on and says, we don't think it's realistic that one part of this company can be carved out from the rest, says Brad Smith, responding to a question about whether they would consider selling the brand to get the deal over. Think about the market in Europe. It is a market where Sony has an 80% share. Globally, it's about 70-30. In Japan, it's 96-4. These numbers have been remarkably steady for 2 decades. Even last year, when there were issues with Sony's supply chain, they came back strong. Yo, they definitely did. Like, they just like, yo, nah, we gonna just, let's just help Sony. What are y'all helping Sony for? Sony hasn't needed help in ever. From the PS1 on till now, Sony has been on top for what they do. Nintendo, they make mad numbers, right? They sell a bunch of units. They sell a bunch of games. Business over there is really sweet, but Sony, they do it in a different way. They have online, they have these big cinematic games, these big budget games and stuff like that. Nintendo likes to put in charm and love, and they do it completely different. Not knocking on Nintendo. I absolutely love Nintendo. I'm playing both Metroid Prime and Kirby this week. I'm a huge Nintendo fan, but Xbox is at third. Xbox launched at third and has been at third basically since then. It got ahead in the 360 era, but the PS3 kind of came on. It's very healthy for competition, and I don't see why people are seeing this. Maybe they just want Xbox to prove it or do better more. I don't know, but if you know anything about this and you know more about what you're talking about, let me know down in the comments below. And rounding out the news today, let's talk about Microsoft, Call of Duty, and Nintendo. Now, the fact that I said that actually makes pretty obvious what's going on here. So I'm just going to go ahead and read this tweet directly from Brad Smith, who is the vice chair and president at Microsoft. So here it is, and it says, we've now signed a binding 10-year contract to bring Xbox games to Nintendo gamers. This is just part of our commitment to bring Xbox games and Activision's titles like Call of Duty to more players on more platforms. Microsoft and Nintendo have now negotiated and signed a binding 10-year legal agreement to bring Call of Duty to Nintendo players the same day as Xbox with full feature and content parity. So they can experience Call of Duty just as Xbox and PlayStation gamers enjoy Call of Duty. They said Xbox and PlayStation anyway moving forward. We are committed to providing long-term equal access to Call of Duty to other gaming platforms, bringing more choice to more players and more competition to the market, to the gaming market. Yeah, that's great. Xbox is like, nah, we're not going to keep it away from everybody. The CMA, the FCC is like, yo, they might keep it away. Microsoft's like, no, we are not doing it. Here, PlayStation, take a deal. You don't want to take it. Here, Nintendo, take a deal. Here, Steam, take a deal. Nvidia and Nintendo so far have signed these contracts with Microsoft. Put the deal through so Call of Duty can go to everybody. Microsoft is going to be bringing in the bread. Straight cheese. Talk about it. They're not taking it away from them. Yes, they're going to put it on Game Pass. So what? You know what else is going to be on Game Pass? Diablo. You know what else is going to be on Game Pass? At least the perks. Overwatch 2. We might even get World of Warcraft on PC Game Pass and all expansions. Maybe people just pay $10 to $20 or something like that. I'm excited. I really hope this goes through because why not? Xbox is far ahead. PlayStation has had a dramatic lead for so long. What is it if Xbox catches up just a little bit? I don't know, man. I just kind of want this deal to go through so competition is heavy so we can see what Microsoft is going to do and if PlayStation is going to panic or anything like that. I think I think they're onto something, and we'll see. You'll definitely hear from me if Xbox and its Activision Blizzard acquisition completely goes through. But let me know what you think about all of this down in the comments. Alright, y'all, so today was a really heavy news day. Pretty good stories. This whole acquisition, man, it's really heating up, and it's starting to speak a lot more language that I understand, because I usually really don't understand everything was going on because I don't understand the jargon. But let me know what you think about everything down in the comments below. We got a State of Play, a Pokemon Presents, and this acquisition is really heating up. We're gonna get Nintendo over. We're gonna get Call of Duty over on Nintendo platforms, and we haven't had Call of Duty on there since I want to say Call of Duty Ghost on the Wii U. So it'd be nice to have some Call of Duty, possibly on the Switch or the Switch's successor. But what do you think is going to be at this state of play? And what about that Pokemon Presents? And so let me know what you think about Blumhouse's getting into gaming, the horror game specifically. I'm really excited about this. Let me know what you think about everything in the comments below. But also, if you are new here, hit that red subscribe button and hit that notification bell and turn on all notifications. I post every Monday to Friday at 9 a.m. helping you start off the workday, bringing you some of the biggest gaming news you may have missed from yesterday to today. And also hit that like button on your way out. And if you dislike anything or disagree anything you heard here, holla at me in the comments. Let's have a healthy dialogue. Thank y'all so much for watching, and this video is finito.